Dave looks like.
Mute, so we are recording and we are live. So, I'll call actually, so since we have the organizational meeting and the chair will take over afterwards, so the roll call, member Budrago,
Here.
member Chen,
Here.
member Conway,
Here.
member Del Bono is currently excused, member Gonzalez,
Here.
member Buell is actually down with ZBA right now, and member Pasquarelli.
Here.
We have a quorum. All right. So there are no items to change on the agenda. From there, we'll actually call for public comments. There's no one in the room, and actually I see that if anyone would like to raise their hand. I think I see that member Del Bono to be on with her
I
phone.
think she said she was gonna try to come out in the beginning, but then had to go to a meeting.
So actually, I don't see you raised, so raise your hand if you would like to talk. We'll get your two panelists. Okay, so while that's being worked out, I will say that, all right, so we have a quorum. No one in the room, no comments online. So the next item is the organizational meeting. So this one right here is the kind of rules, the way it goes for most people, if you haven't done it before, is I will call for a nomination, someone nominates someone. You don't have to second, but you can, different commissions do it certain ways. Then I'll call for another nomination. If there are none heard, it gets closed and then it gets voted on. And then I'll go through for chair, vice chair, and secretary. So for the first officer for chair, any nominations for chair of the committee?
I nominate Kia.
Second.
All right, any other nominations? Nominations are closed. So the nominations for member Pasquarelli to remain chair, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so now a nomination for, opening nominations for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Bernadette Conway.
Second.
Any other nominations? Nominations are closed. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, congratulations. And then the position of secretary. So this position is currently vacant.
I'd like to nominate Julian Chen.
Second.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Sweet.
All right, so we have our slate of officers. So at
Right.
this point, hand it back over to the chair.
All right, so we can start the meeting here, with the setting of the regular meeting dates for 2026. So, for those of you who are not in the room, and maybe you gathered this from Paul's emails, there's a conflict, for some people with, which committee is it?
So conflict with the economic development.
Yeah.
Committee.
So we'd like to propose a different scheduled meeting date for the future dates. So for the next 4 meetings to be the first Wednesday of the month quarterly at 6:30 PM. So those dates would be April 1st, July 1st. Everything all right?
Yeah, no, I'm just, I was trying to share the specific screen
Oh.
and
October 7th and January 6th. So, is there anybody, on the meeting, any members who, have an issue with those dates? First Wednesday, quarterly, April, July, October, January. Nobody seems to have a problem with that.
Do you want to make a motion?
I move to accept those dates for our quarterly meetings of the Open Space Committee.
Second.
All right, so, okay, so that's, the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor of revising the dates to the first Wednesday quarterly?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
sounds like- And there's nobody, any opposing?
I just gotta, for some reason Beth can't talk to us, whatever, she said she's fine with it.
Oh, but we can't hear her on the meeting, or she just,
She said,
is it a technical issue?
I'm on Zoom, but you can't hear me, I'm here,
Oh, bummer.
that's fine with me.
Okay, thanks, Beth. Let's,
There's a little technical difficulties sharing the screen, because that's of course the.
but can we get where Beth can hear us? Because it sounds like Bernadette can hear us.
Yep, so I think I tried to,
Promote her.
Well, she probably can hear us, right, if she's.
Oh, she can
texting back
hear
and
us.
said,
We can't hear.
We can't hear
We
her,
can't
but she
hear
can
her.
hear us, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, she
Yeah.
must be able to hear.
But she
That's
did.
just
right,
unmute.
she did hear us. Okay.
So
All right.
Beth, can you, I just asked you to unmute.
Yes, I just hit unmute. Can you hear me now?
There we go. Yep, I tried to promote you to a panelist. And I was trying to share the in-room screen, which has been.
Okay, so everyone, Beth, you're okay with those Wednesdays then, right?
Yes, I am. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you working on that for me
Sure.
to get me in the
Okay.
room.
I guess everybody's good with it, so that sounds like that motion was carried unanimously. So the new dates will be entered as stated for 2026.
Someone's sharing my desktop, unfortunately, and it's not sharing the one in the room, so we'll figure that out. Okay. All right, so we have that. Apologies for that. So then that's again,
Will we, do you
April
think we'll
first.
be meeting in the chambers then?
I can check to see, yeah.
Anyway,
if that
you let us know where we're gonna meet in April.
So chances are what I will do is I will file this April first,
Okay.
July first, October seventh, January sixth.
Yep.
Still the same time at 6:30.
Yep,
And how I will file it with the clerk is immediately as 200 Garfield Street Town Hall.
yeah,
If you do that, you can actually move around a little bit more within the town hall as long as it's noticed being here in the clerk. But
right,
I'll check if council chambers are available.
cool. Okay, so for those of you, who were here a year ago, roughly, for the meeting on January 9th, 2025, that's the last set of minutes. That's in your packet, so, anyone who, like Bernadette and, Gail, you would just, if you have any issues with the minutes, but I'd like to, so can we have a motion to approve the minutes? Motion to approve?
I make a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
Right. Well, do we?
I got two
second?
motions, so yeah. if you don't-
That sounds like a 1 and a 2.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. So the
Aye.
meetings minutes are all set. Okay, great. That brings us to an actual topic.
Yep. And, I think sorry to run back because I was having some technical difficulties, the votes for approval of the schedule. Do you remember who those were?
They were unanimous, I think.
Oh,
Oh, for the first
who the
ones.
motion?
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
I seconded and you motioned.
Yep, so.
yeah, yeah.
I think.
All
I
right,
made the motion.
Bernadette made the motion.
sorry about that.
It's all right.
Okay, new technology. Okay, so the first item, so the Open Space Commission priorities and future work discussion. So this is an item we've had in the past, kind of bringing it back around to kind of figure out, again, it's been a year, since the committees met. There was some earlier work that we were doing, on GIS, to kind of start looking forward and kind of getting that classification of open space. It kind of got to a rough framework. And then multiple applications came up, other things came up. But I think revisiting that is a good idea. We do have a GIS technician who actually has a good background, environmental and interest towards that. So I think she'd be able to, help the committee out. She's willing to come. So if you'd like me to invite her, I'm more than happy to do so, to see if she would accept that invitation.
Yeah.
Kind of call her out before actually talking to her too much, but we've talked briefly about kind of that open space inventory, not even the inventory, but that open space classification.
Mhm.
For acquiring open space, what are the key criteria? And the council did adopt the criteria for the acquisition of open space.
Right,
So we have a criteria with the town.
Right.
The key thing is weighting that criteria. Right now, everything is equal and those are the primary criteria. Yes, it can meet, it does a couple of them, not, but when we're discussing about, okay, if this committee, is looking to recommend specific parcels, say, hey, to the town, here are the committee recommended parcels. When I first started here, that was something that was in the discussion. And that's something I think we would look for a little clarity on council from, regarding like, what is the charge of this committee and how far does the council, or how far would the council like the committee to look into specific properties?
I thought that one of the charges that this committee had at some point was going to try and go through and identify open space parcels in town, because in the event that grants come up, we can't just, we need to be able to respond and react and see what parcels are important to us and which ones aren't. Just because something's not developed doesn't mean it's good use of space, but there are some, I think as a town, we certainly know, like, Cedar Mountain, let's say, and blah, blah, blah. But I thought we were gonna identify what parcels in town are open space, and then which ones would be on the town's priority if they became available or to pursue. I thought,
That was a question I had. Do we know like a list? Is there a list of all open space that?
So there's like the open space in a different, so it's like open spaces, there's dedicated open space, which is two things, you have town control, which is ultimately our parks, or our dedicated open space areas, properties that aren't developed.
That's what I'm kind of, open space I think
Yeah.
of as.
Yeah, you have other, which is
Property
privately,
kind of, but
Yeah.
I didn't think of parks.
privately owned open space. And that is, for associations, they have areas that are conservation easements, where it's kind of the town as a partner in that, and a lot of them too, where they conserved a part of it, but it's typically not open for, people to actually utilize it. It's locked away and left preserved. And then there's the undeveloped parcels. So I think this is what we'd be looking at, more along the lines of something we don't already have, unless it's to increase, it's to better it. But it's what parcels are left undeveloped right now that are not in the town's ownership. That would be to acquire.
I'd like to see a list of what parcels are protected, we don't have to worry about ever.
Yeah,
And then what parcels are at risk at some point, either from development or something like that. Because there are certain parcels that hopefully we wouldn't have to worry about, but there are others that we might want to acquire but are at risk.
Mhm.
And those are the ones I would think we would want to target through grants or some other,
Do you ever look at things, this may be a silly question, but if a building or something's being sold, do you ever look at it and say this would be great for open space, or is that just a crazy suggestion and thing to do?
So-
with buildings or whatever, is that you run into abatement and it costs to demolish the building, and then you have
Okay.
contamination and stuff
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
yeah, and we do have, a very small open space fund.
Yeah,
And, acquiring anything but a leftover tiny corner strip that no one wants, there's no funding for that. You have cases where sometimes people do say, hey, I would like to give this town for open space, but you look at it, it's nothing but steep slopes, everything wetland, and it's kind of like sometimes, and that's a kind of decision for the town and the council too, when these things come up, is, hey, here's the thing, we want to give it to you for open space. It's like, well, that property is incredibly difficult. The likelihood of it getting developed is near impossible. Nothing's not possible if you have enough money, but it's not economically feasible. And that's just trying to carve it off and say, here, you deal with this. You deal with the streams, the down trees, the environmental issues. Or there's the other ones where, yes, I think there could be parcels out there that, and aren't that many, that are undeveloped, that are, in the important ones to me, are undeveloped and adjacent to existing open space. So you can start filling in that mosaic. Because pretty much like our open space it's a checkerboard. Most of Connecticut is not contiguous with a lot of our open space. This town, it doesn't have huge, tracts. We have ones, our main tracts are primarily wetlands that the town does have that are protected. The old corridor, the old highway corridor that the town has. We have some other land that is kind of, again, it's that not suitable for development, which is perfectly fine, and it's locked away. But what other thing is adjacent to that could benefit that resource? Because I think that's part of the criteria too, that And we can bring it back up, and if that's something you'd like to see at the next meeting, I say, okay, refresh, here's what the criteria was, that the council adopted. Here's where we were with kind of the mapping thing, where do we wanna go with this? So yeah, I think, we don't have like a specific, we had a general list. I remember when I started, had that general list, we were looking for something more specific at that time. When we were working with leadership, it was kind of like a back and forth, asking what's here, what's there, what's the charge? But I think we could bring that back up, to say, okay, does the council want this committee to say, here are directly these properties? There's pros and cons with that. The only con is you telegraph that the town is interested in it, but if you're interested for environmental reasons, they might kind of know
This
about
has
it.
come up before.
Yeah.
Telegraphing interest,
Mhm.
and then,
The price goes up.
right.
But, it's only so much reality with that,
Right.
that's a lot of, I would say that takes place a lot more in development world where, you have someone who's very interested in a parcel, another person, you get into a bidding war. But, anyone who we approach is gonna, they should know that public funds are not unlimited.
Right.
And these things are normally hard fights to get the funding, to actually acquire land to preserve it. That's actually one of the harder fights, to get funding for. So it sounds like at the next meeting, you'd like to kind of pull together that information, see kind of refresh of where we were at.
Could we have, since there's some new members, two of them here and Beth online, could we have a copy of the criteria?
Yeah, no,
For
yeah,
them?
exactly, yep.
And could we, maybe look at a parcel list of some ilk? If it's not, if it's not gonna take too much time, and we have a few months, but, with the note, maybe I think what Gail is saying is a really good idea, where if we can kind of mark off things that are, what their applicability would be from different perspectives.
Cause even if, we have limited funds, but if there's a parcel of land that, even if it's not adjacent, but we identify as, it would be nice to have a park, like across the turnpike, there's no parks, so blah, 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 or whatever. And then we know that it's up for sale, even if we know it's up for sale, sometimes, I don't know whether we've ever made an approach to a landowner and said, hey, would you be willing to, okay, I'm gonna throw this out here. Let's say Hartford Hospital. I'm really upset that that's gonna be developed. Did Newington ever approach Hartford Hospital and say, hey, you've been a good citizen for, 100 years, whatever. You know what the situation in town is. Would you be willing to donate part of it, or would you be willing to negotiate a parcel of it? Have we ever approached them to keep some of that?
Mhm.
Have we?
That I don't know. It's like Durden, and then again, it's kind of like the town planner role versus leadership manager role on that one. That's not something that I would roll with, and just say, coming from, hey, the town planner says we should take some of your land, but I think
Not
that's.
take it, but
yeah,
just
ask
would
for
they be
Yeah.
willing? Because what I think in the past, I don't know whether you were on the commission then, but we actually wrote a letter to the town council or to, I can't remember, but said that when we first heard that, Hartford Hospital was up for sale, saying, Open Space Committee really feels that this is valuable land, and we hope whatever development, does go into that property, they would be cognizant and think about, keeping some of it as green space. So we've already identified that
Mhm.
as a priority, so I don't see why approaching Hartford Hospital and just saying, had considered donating a little bit, or have a little parcel that within our meager funds that we can buy. So
Yeah.
how would we get
Would
that?
we need the town council to direct our town leaders to do that?
Yeah, I
I
know,
would
see,
think maybe that would be a town council decision to say, we'd like to consider, that request and direct, a director or to
I
make
don't
that
think
request and,
it could be done I wouldn't want it done in a public town council meeting, maybe the executive session, because it is land, it is real estate, land acquisition, whatever, but, or if this is informal, it's not like a formal request, but I don't know, you guys must be talking to the people at Harvard, just say, have you ever considered, or would this ever be a possibility, if the town council decided to, you know. I just think that there's a way that informally, you can just feel them out.
I think it's one of those ones that, yep, that's something I can talk to Jonathan about, because yeah, I go, of course,
Town manager.
yeah.
So also, that is zoned public land.
Mhm.
So whoever Hartford Hospital says that to, they have to get approval from the town to develop it.
Yep, for
And that's
rezoning.
where for rezoning, and that's where we would step in and say, oh, okay, sure, we'd like to see some open space over here or whatever. I mean, I think maybe that's been sort of the idea in also in the visioning exercises.
And so I was talking.
Where there's
about-
open space in the visioning
And it's funny,
exercise.
so that's something that actually came up recently at TPC. And, in talking about that, I was like, okay, yep, we have the plan, we kind of gave a little brief on it, and the thing is like, I think it was, Steve Woods, who actually brought up specifically like, hey, what's the actual percentage? What is this? What's kind of the layout? And I think that's what we need to kind of pull those, because we're gonna be, when working with rezoning, we have the master plan. The master plan is a visioning document, but it provides baselines for us that says, okay, for a zoning regulation, are we gonna say, yes, X amount of space needs to be preserved for that, or work with it, or you get density bonuses for having public rights of way through it as parts of your development, because I know that was something that's been brought up, the concern of it being
Yeah,
secluded.
Yeah.
That the public would no longer easily be able to have access through it and.
But you're talking about it as part of a development
Yeah.
plan. What I'm saying is, before we even get to that point, has anybody ever said Hartford Hospital? What would you be able to give us an acre or two or whatever? Would you be willing to?
Yeah.
And then incorporate, because the open space you're in that overall town center development plan, that's something you're hoping happens, you know, blah, 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 blah. This is something we wanna be proactive and say, hey, this 1 acre, 2 acres, 3 acres, whatever, is not gonna be part of the development plan, because Hartford Hospital and us have come to an agreement that it will be open space. I mean, I just wish that somebody would have talked to Hartford Hospital and said how amenable are they to that. They were amenable for the dog park,
Yep, and they renewed the lease
right?
without, yeah, they don't have any issues there, so it's kind of like one of those.
So why don't we be proactive rather than waiting to see, well, we hope a developer comes in, and if a developer comes in, we hope that they'll do this, and we hope that, let's
Yeah.
grab some land before it even gets to that.
I'll definitely bring it up with, town manager.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that, cause it's like, cause again, in the plan, there was one area identified, it's that, the area between Cedar Street and. Oh, I'm gonna get that wrong, cause like John Stewart is the one below it, Constance Lee. And then the
Oh,
other one that
right.
goes right up,
There's a very-
that connects to Mountain Road.
The very,
Patricia Genova?
I think that was Patricia Genova, yes. Yeah, so Patricia Genova, there is this pie-shaped, little kind of area there that had the previous, nurses' quarters, had previous kind of, daycare type of thing. And that would make a good trailhead. That's one of the things that was identified in the plan, and talking with everyone, like, actually, that's really close to there and people could utilize it. So I think, having a discussion about something like that wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea.
is this something that would be, so you can clearly talk to, our town manager about it? Would it make sense for this to come up in any other context, either with town council or TPZ, or is this something that can just be handled sort of by the town manager?
Yeah, I'll talk to the
Okay.
town manager and
Okay,
see
get some
kind of
direction.
his, his feelings on how it should kind
Can't
of.
hurt, right?
And if you need, I'll be there to like be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, well, we have the benefit of having both of you here, who just so happen to be there,
Yeah.
the council, so.
But then again, I'm thinking too, if there are other parcels in town that, I don't even off the top of my head, but that we see that they're going up for sale. And not that we would buy it, but just say, hey, property owner, have you ever thought of leaving a legacy to the town, you know?
Yeah.
I just think we can be more proactive and,
Mhm.
because there's such few, there's not a lot left.
Do an analysis of what's the mountain, all the parcels on the mountain
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I think I have a little
That's all.
direction and
That's the
pull together
easiest.
kind of kind of pull together the kind of like, okay, where do we kind of leave off? And I think it kind of left off about like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
But like, all that stuff was kind of pushing forward, and then, you know, we have met a little bit, things like that. I think, yeah, I think reviving that.
I think we have stock of what's on the mountain.
Yeah,
I think that's all been sectioned and we, that's.
Yeah, because a lot of it, you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
like I've seen it before.
Yeah.
You know.
well, I just
Yes.
think it's
belongs
the
to
most
Tilda,
relevant
belongs to this,
topic.
Yeah.
Like, if we're gonna talk about Hartford Hospital, we might as well look at,
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
Oh, yes, it's Tilda, yeah.
And we know that the state has an interest in the. That's one that I would think would be really
Right.
amazing to acquire,
Yep.
is the Old Children's Hospital, right?
Oh. Well,
But we don't wanna get over our skis.
no, exactly.
Yep, and there is, and again, I think it will be finalized soon. There is a conservation easement over part of Cedar Crest on the back. So basically, if you look at it from an aerial, primarily the developed envelope is not within it. But the area behind it, the slope, the treed areas, most of the treed area is actually within that conservation easement. And you can actually see when, what was it? Department of Administrative Services, DAS at Harvard, when they advertised, the property on that one, you know, the most recent advertisement is for like 20 something acres. And they kind of drew it that way. It kind of excludes a lot of the area behind it. And then they kind of worked with someone separate, I believe, for the cottage as well. That was a separate RFP that they put out. So, you know, they're actively trying to sell it. And I think it went through right of first refusal. I think that was recently at council.
But again,
They're asking several million
zoning has to
dollars.
change for things to happen, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's, yeah,
Yeah, it's not saying nothing can happen,
correct,
because public land is still.
correct.
It's one of those interesting type of zones that it can be a nonprofit, but it also can be a for-profit. And it has to serve some type of public purpose like a hospital does.
Yeah.
And then you kind of do interpretations from there. All right, so I got a little, anyone else, well, I'll have a little bit of work on that one to bring in. Anyone else have any questions, things you wanna see in the future, items you'd like to see on the agenda, directions you'd like to see us go in?
How does money get into the open space account? Does that go from budgeting or?
Yearly
Yeah.
budget.
Is that, you had talked about money from the sales of things coming to?
Listen, yeah, we kind of just started that, but, there was, when this commission was created, there was an open space land acquisition fund created at that time. This was like 10, 15 years ago, I don't remember. And it was supposed to be funded every year
Mhm.
through the budgeting process. And I think the first or second year got funded, but then the priorities got scattered and it hadn't been funded for like years until about 2 years ago, so we started funding it again. But it's supposed to, but every year it's a budget item that should be,
Did the sale for the Bundy Road
yes.
go? Yeah.
How much
Yeah.
is in that fund at presently? Does anybody know what the budget is, where it's at? Or how much is put in annually? Is it a set amount or is it decided on during the budget sessions?
Yeah, I think, if I remember correctly, it was either 20 or 30 that's typically put in, as kind of the annual
This annual seed.
amount, yeah, and then, yeah, it is the budget process. So it's put forward through, and it's actually, I believe it is a CIP account. Because it is a building type of fund, so it's seeded, so it goes year over year over year. So, you know, that's through the CIP process.
And
how
then
much
just
gets put in.
recently, the sale of the Budney property was 40,000, I think, was added to it.
Something about that now.
And then prior to that, there was some property on Fen Road a couple years ago, which I think was 60,000 or something. So there's probably around 100,000 maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can look up that number, but
That'd be
yeah,
great.
it's,
Yeah, we should know.
it's nothing that's gonna get us
Anything.
a substantial piece of property that does a big environmental benefit. Cause
But
that's the way I look at it, it's like but it is a start.
And or could be a matching for a grant
Yeah.
if we had to. as
Yeah.
well, so.
That actually is kind of, I think, the more likely scenario in the future is
Which would be
working with.
great anyways, and like double, you know.
And I know the state, this is where I get concerned about Cedar Mountain, because the state overall has a program where they want to increase the amount of open space or preserve the amount of open space in the state. And they seem to be focusing, because of environmental reasons, because of health reasons, whatever, because of, just whatever. But they seem to be focusing in already rural areas, whereas Cedar Mountain, to me, because it's a barrier between, let's say, the pollution on the turnpike and, Newington. Very limited wildlife, but that's the only place that, environmentally, we have a wildlife preservation up there with bird migratory, whatever. And it's in an urban area close to the capital.
Mhm.
It seems that the state, as part of that program to increase the amount of open space and preserve, would be interested in that, but nobody seems to. Can you look into that, or can?
Yeah, the state's, basically it's the state's
Yeah,
plan of conservation development.
right. And what's it, Sonia, maybe she could, because I know there's grants and it's the state is pushing it. But they seem to be pushing it in areas that already have.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The state seems to be focused on developing. I just think we have to articulate it another way.
Yes.
I mean, this has been my argument all along, is we're going to have development in the center with the eventual, development that will come from the Hartford Hospital property. Can we just kind of get like, can we get a little bit of the mountain preserved
Mhm.
for future generations?
Yeah.
Knowing that we will have more housing. Housing's a big important topic. It's a big situation. We have to address that. And I think, we have to show the state that we're interested in we're interested in doing what we can do to contribute and, and enhance housing opportunities in Newington. But I think we have to also, I think somebody has to be able to argue. And then we go back to this all the time. Who's the person who should do that? I mean, should it be one of our, should it be Gary Turco? Should it be like, who's the person who's best suited in that role to sort of say, a kind of an advocate
I would
for.
think one of our state reps probably,
Right,
right?
so,
So-
this is, we've talked about
But I
this.
think the impetus to tell them to do that has to come from the town,
Right,
And would that be the town council?
I would think.
Yeah, I would think that, yeah,
Yep, the town council, town leadership, town manager.
right.
I mean, I look at it as a take a step back approach, like, we know what's happening. We know what's gonna happen in 10 years, 5 years. So if we're not protecting some things now, it will be too late. But if there isn't an appetite in other areas, I mean, we're not holding all the cards here in Newington, so. I mean, I sort of wonder if like, we have, when we made the letter of the criteria of prioritization, and we sent that to town council and we asked them to adopt it and they did. That sort of like ended the conversation between open space and the town council. And if there is and apart from the fact that you guys are here, you two, if there's a better way to liaise with town council in some sort of official way for this committee, or if you want.
I think we should be
Or
bringing
one
it
of
back.
one of
to
you guys
council.
be proactive and say, we would like a report from open space, or so it puts it on the agenda. It puts it in the conversation.
But we have to have something to give to them, and I think that's,
Well,
like, if we come up with a list, or if we come up with.
Well, we can give them direction.
Paul, that's right. Isn't
That's part of.
aren't we supposed to take direction? Isn't open space getting direction from town council? Isn't that the way the committee was?
It's always been kind of a question,
Okay.
for me. For me,
Okay.
typically, it's, I think there was a time when I came on open space, there was open space meeting, it didn't meet for a little while, it started meeting again, I know Renata had some meetings.
There was no quorum
Keith
forever.
was here, and then, it's been back and forth, but it's like, yeah, what is the charge?
See, I see it differently. I see it as, obviously, it's important enough for the town to have created a commission. And to me, I don't think we just sit and wait for the town council to tell us what to do. I think we need to be proactive and say, this is what we wanna do, and then bring it to the town council. I think we take the lead and then say, this is what we think would be good for the town, then we have to bring it to the town council for them to approve or not approve. But I think we need something to bring to them and say, this is what we hope to do. Rather than sit and wait for them to take the lead, because they have other,
Yeah,
There's always something else going
yeah,
on.
yeah. And again, this was important enough, because this is one of the ones that's in the charter,
I have to check that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I know this was created as a result of the whole Toll Brothers fiasco on Cedar Mountain.
Okay, so I will pull together what I can for
And I'll
next
definitely
meeting.
bring back to council.
That would be
You know,
great.
I mean,
New year, new us.
Yep. New day.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we always report back on how the, committee
Yeah.
meetings,
Yeah.
everything
So
goes.
we
I
have to
mean,
have a
that's
board.
just,
Yeah, I
is it
would,
any different because we're a member? Are we not supposed to?
No.
no, I think that's why there's members
Yeah.
That's
from
why
town
there's two council
council.
members.
Right.
So that's like.
I mean, it's
my
actually-
job
it's
to
actually
go
really
back
good.
and-
Rather than be the liaison.
Yeah,
Right? I
yeah,
mean-
yeah.
Absolutely.
Great. And I didn't quite know what was going on with the Cedar Crest. So, I mean, maybe we could get an update on that, and even at TPZ would be good. I didn't know. I mean.
Yeah.
I'm not on Facebook, so. I don't
Yeah,
know what's
as I
going on.
said, other than, we know that they put it to RFP.
Right.
We know that they've advertised it.
Yeah.
And of course, because we got the right of first refusal on the first, the
Right.
cottages, and then the right of first refusal on the second, which is actually the primary hospital itself, including the building in the front, which actually that one building, the hospital itself, I have not been in it, so I couldn't tell you what the condition is. Could be pretty rough. It's probably rough. That nurses building, I believe they call it, or a couple other people have called it a couple different things. Building, so
Yeah.
that one has some opportunity on that, but there is a lot more area that's unknown what the future can be.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Good. All right, is there any more comments for this part of the agenda? We're still under new business and open space commission priorities and future work, so I think if we've.
And that's our primary one, so
and
we're
that's it.
good.
So if we're good, then we can move on to the next, point, which is old business,
There is none.
right? Public comments,
There are no attendees online, no one in the room.
okay. Any, additional comments or comments from any of the committee members? Jade, do you have any comments?
Not really.
Okay.
And welcome.
Great, well, welcome. And Gail, you've made some comments. Do you have any additional comments? Kathy, any
Just
comments?
learning.
Great,
and-
great. Well, we'll get you
willing
some
to-
things, we'll get you some things from before that you can
Yeah, we'll
take a
check
look
on
at.
things maybe.
And then, Bernadette, any comments?
I just want to say welcome to the new members, and yes, thank you. I'm glad we're going to do a review, not just for them, but for me. It's been a while, so I need it myself as well. And I do want to echo what Gail said. This committee was created for us to really review, make some decisions and make recommendations and act as the conscience of the community for open space. So we have to be the ones. And it's a difficult thing because our committee really doesn't, we don't have any power. We don't have any money, but we can identify and make people aware of what's out there and make sure you prioritize this and continue to prioritize it. So we're accumulating a treasury or a balance, which is nice. And if we can continue identifying properties, so at some point we will be ready when the time comes.
Mhm.
And that's all I want to say. So thank you to everybody
Thanks,
for
Bernadette.
doing the work.
And Beth is no longer on the meeting, so
Yeah.
she's off. Okay, so there's nobody else, so nobody else who might wanna make a comment as a member. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of the agenda. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make a motion.
Second. Okay. All right, then the meeting's adjourned.
Yep.
Thank you,
If you're in
everyone.
opposition, so.
Yeah, and it's 7:11, same time we ended the meeting last year.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
So
Yeah,
I,
if there's any pertinent information that I could brush up on, and, you
Right.
know.
oh,
just
yeah,
Shoot it over, send it to me, whatever.